And welcome back, class users. Chris from the class help desk team, and in this video we're going to look at services. There's a couple of key features. The first one is selecting the right service, and a lot of that comes down to you guys understanding the new structure of services. We now have more than just the old advices and cases. We have a bunch of them. You need to know the difference, so you need to have a good look at the videos that describe that and the Attorney General's new legal data standards. The next one that I'll show you in a bit of detail is problem types, and that is selecting the correct legal problem type, and you'll find that fields can attach to that selection. There's also a really cool way of being able to find your problem types because there's a lot of them, so we had to make a fairly comprehensive way for you to search in all different types of ways, and I'll show you that in a second. Then there are actions, which is a little bit of a new concept, but there's three things that actions do. They attach to your service and they contain, for example, notes, including your intake notes or your ongoing notes or things like your final legal advice or something like that. Reminders can be done from actions, so that's all your stuff relating to dates and when you need a pop-up or a reminder of when something's going on, such as a court date or a limitation date. And also we have specifically court tribunal details, so if you select that type of action, there's a bunch of things that pertain to that, including the court tribunal title, at what level, say, your case is, is it an appeal, etc. So in a nutshell, these actions track across time what's happening to your service. Finally, there's the attaching documents issue. Unfortunately, it's not going to be rolled out straight away when we first migrate, but it won't be too far behind and it'll be fairly obvious. You'll be able to click on the tab and attach docs to services. All right, let's go and dig in now and have a look, class. And so let's assume that we've just logged in, we've landed on our message board homepage. We need to make sure we click class to make sure that we see services for the individuals. And then we can do things like search for services. If we're going to create new services though, here's the big trick. You can't just create a new service from scratch because a service needs to be attached to a client. So you either need to find an existing client or create a new client first, and then you can attach a service to them. Now, all these things usually are preceded by a conflict check, and again, you can usually do the conflict check using the old method or using an intake. The new intake procedure allows you to create or append to new or existing clients and create a service through one 5-step procedure. So we highly recommend that, but the other way to do it is search for a client first. So to do it the fast way, if you're allowed to, you can go to search clients. Providing, of course, you do a conflict check, you can create a new client here. But here, I just want to show you what happens if you've got an existing client. We click on the client. Once that's loaded, you can click on client services with the services attached to the client. And here, if you've got the permissions for this, you have a new button here, which will allow us to do a new service and attach it to that client. And here is the basics. And of course, the first thing you want to do is select the service type. But let's drop it to, say, court tribunal. And you'll get all the appropriate fields to that kind of thing and set it all up, click save, and you'll have a service. Some centers will only allow this to happen through the intake procedure. We can search for services. There's plenty of ways to do it. Something you'll probably be dealing with, I've clicked on that, search services. You'll often be searching by service type. So if it's a legal advice, we can just type in advice or part thereof, and we'll get a whole list of all the legal advices in the system. And we can click on one and head straight into what they look like. And now you can see the basic pages of what a service is. And we can see across the top all the basic tabs that pertain to service, not to be mixed up with these master tabs along the top, where we can actually flick between different clients and different services. So the first thing I mentioned before is which service you've got to select, and here they basically are. Now you might wonder why there's no informations and referrals, and that is because you can only create informations and referrals using the new intake screen. Also, this is an already saved legal advice, so what we're seeing here is all the fields relating to a legal advice. If we change this, say, to a court tribunal thing, now we'd get a slightly different set of fields. For example, an open and closed date. Instead of when it was back here on a legal advice, it would just have a date of service because it's a single day. So that's how that kind of works. There's other things operators I'm about to show you as well. Certain problem types will trigger different custom fields that'll pop up here. And let's have a look at that when we get to it. So in essence, you're looking at what service type. It's the legal advice. If it's a new service, you really need to select that first so you can make sure that you're filling in the right information. Here's a service ID, and that will be dragged with a prefix in front of it if it's come from Silsys, or it would be automatically added to the next one if it's a brand new one. So with matter ID, if there is one there, it's normally because it has been migrated across from Silsys. And some people still use matter IDs to find things. This is related to also related services. There is no matters in class, but the way we handle old matters is that you can still see the cluster of services that were held together by a matter and a matter ID, and that'll come up in these related services. Right now, that function is not quite working, but we intend to have it by the time you guys migrate.